Welcome KetoPals to another episode. In this one we'll be going over the Embrace. In this one we'll do a unboxing with the Embrace. That is a new device that just came out recently. We had it for a couple of days now, so I could tell you exactly the pros and cons to either the Embrace as well as the Open Seizure Detector that is powered by the Pebble watch. We'll do an unboxing first, followed by a quick tutorial, then a comparison, as well as our final thoughts on whether you should get either the Open Seizure Detector or the Embrace that just released recently. Let's take a look. Mess with it over the weekend, and we were able to get some false positives. Fortunately, my son didn't have any seizures this weekend, so we won't be able to tell you if it worked quite well with seizure detection, but we are pretty hopeful for it. We want to start off with a quick tutorial on how to use this device. It's self-explanatory. You have to just download this one application in order for it to work. In our case, it would be this app. It's called Alert Empatica. I'm going to uninstall it and reinstall it to give you a fresh. Once you install this application, you would want to charge this. You would want to charge the watch at least for 2 hours, as it says in the guide here. Let me get the instructions. Put the instructions up here. The box. Okay. Once the application installs, you'll want to open it and create your account. More than likely, you created an account before they sent it to you. While you're creating your account, you would want to charge it. It's kind of difficult to see here, but there is a little heart in the bottom of this Empatica. It's etched in. In order to charge your Embrace, you would want to match the heart with the heart that's etched in on the watch itself. It's simple. You plug it in like this, and then you plug this into any standard phone charger that is compatible with like USB, that is compatible most likely with Android. Uses the same charging port on Android phones. It won't be compatible with your phone. With your Apple phone chargers, but you can just find any standard USB that it comes. In fact, it comes with its own USB, so you'll be able to connect it to any charger that has the USB connection to it. Once you have charged it, you're ready to connect your account. It's pretty simple. You just swipe, follow the directions. Let's start. Log in. To log in. Once it logs in, it's going to show you pretty much examples on how to use it. It has a very nice GUI, and it's pretty simple to use. You would want to allow it, pretty much allow anything. As you saw, the little happy face is immediately connected. That's good. Once it is connected, you're pretty much set and done. As you can see here, I have Caregivers that I've already assigned myself and my wife to. It will grab that from the account online, so if you get a new phone, then you'll be able to use it. It's very important to note that this is not really compatible with older devices or tablets as of now. And as you can see here, I'm going to do the Empatica. As you see here, I'm going to do the Embrace app, and it says right there that it's not compatible with this version. So I'm assuming that it's only worked with the Lollipop or above. So your Nexus 6 that we have will definitely be compatible. Other devices, such as Apple's, I'm pretty sure will be compatible. Just be aware that the old phones that you have won't work for this Embrace watch. So that might be a big hassle to you if you have that issue. Once you've loaded this, you can add Caregivers right here. You just hit that plus sign, add in their phone number, and hit their add in their phone number. You just have to add in their phone number, their name, their phone number, country, and email as well. This is interesting because under alerts, you would have recent alerts, as we saw, as I told you earlier. We didn't. My son didn't have any seizures this weekend, thank God. But we did test it, so we gave false alarms by just having the phone on, the watch on him for about 30 minutes. He tends to move around a lot, so we were able. He shakes a lot that could mimic seizures, because not only does he shake, move around like this much, but he also gets very excited. And the difference between this one and the Pebble is it does have these sensors in the back that tracks the nervous system, as well as heart rate and other things that will be beneficial to get more accurate settings. Unlike this one, which only tracks motions, and this one will track more than just one setting in order to give off an alert. When it gives an alert, it's going to go here as a actual alert. You'll select the alert, just like I do with the false positives, and it will tell you that it wasn't a false alarm, it was an alarm. So, which is pretty interesting. Now, the great thing is, when the alarm does go off, we tested it, and it does call your phone. So, this phone doesn't need cellular data. What it does is it contacts the servers in Empatica, and it tells the servers to call these phones. So this phone right here is the main phone that this device is connected to, but this phone was able to go off. So if the ringer went off, which is very important, especially for my phone. I have do not disturb after a certain amount of time, except for people on the special list, like my wife or my relatives. Just in case they call me on emergencies, it will go off. So I already added the phone number to this to my do not disturb list, so I will hear it when it goes off, as well as already set the ringtone to that. Not only will you get a call, you'll also get a text, and you'll get an email. So you got three ways that this thing is going to alert you in order to wake you up at night, or to alert you in any way. This is pretty interesting, because what ends up happening is we could get my son a cell phone with, I guess we would have to get cellular data or some kind of wireless internet connection at his school, and we will be able to track his seizures while we're at work and he's at school. As this device gets smarter and smarter, we should be able to designate more alerts that would be more accurate, and we could call the teacher to see if he had an actual seizure, as vice versa. The only problem is you'd want to disable the teacher's alert during the off times. You don't want the teacher to get a phone call in the middle of the night on a weekend, right? So you just disable it by just tapping it, by swiping it, whoop, like that, and it will save it and it will turn off, so the alerts are disabled, so I won't receive the call. The profiles are pretty simple. My profile just pretty much shows you what your son is. You can save a picture. I had a picture, but I uninstalled it and I had to redo it. My Embrace, check for updates. This is important because it is a beta. It is important to understand. Technically, Open Seizure Detector is also a beta. It's open source. So the software is getting better over time, just like this one. So hopefully in the future, it will support older phones as well as a tablet. I have a Nexus 7, and this would be a great device right here to use. Unfortunately, let me just get this compatible to a tablet either. Hopefully that changes in the future, because my end goal is to connect this watch to the tablet and leave it in my son's room, because this is my phone. I have to leave it in my son's home, or I'm sorry, in my son's room, because it is powered by Bluetooth. So I haven't had any issues. You can take the phone with you and you can come back and it will update, it will automatically connect, it will take the free memory to free free the memory from the phone. It will empty out the memory that has built up on your Embrace. Oh, that's cool. That's the time right now. It is 9:35. All the little color coordination are in the back. It's pretty important to understand. Really, the most important one is if you see red, and you would want to check those unusual events down, and they're all self-explanatory. Again, this device is this device is a beta, so you expect the device to work better and better as time goes on. As you can see here, the demonstration was it was much more fluid. The ease of use, it's more streamlined. It is fluid. Everything makes sense when you look at it. You don't have to follow this guideline. You don't even have to watch this instructional video to actually understand how to use this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All these are self-explanatory. You can send feedback to try to contact the device. Right now, I would probably be right there in happy face. I'm satisfied. I'd need more testing to actually see if the device actually works really well, only because I'm not too sure how accurate it is picking up my son's seizures. But my wife slept with my son in his room, and she didn't notice any seizures through the night, and we were kind of skeptical if it was working, so we left it on him during the daytime, and we were able to pick up the false positives simply because of the movement and the excitement that he builds when he moves around. Now, that's the end of the basic tutorial. Now let's give a comparison. So this is the open source seizure detector, and I have links in the description below on how to actually use it. This device here is $200, while this device here depends on the price of the Pebble. The Pebble or an old phone. If you have an old phone laying around, chances are it should be compatible. Unlike the Embrace, you might actually need a new phone or a latest Android. I'm sorry, or a latest Apple. Oh, there we go. So it requires an Android 5.0, and it requires the iPhone 5 as well as an iPod Touch 6th generation or later. So tablets are not compatible with it for now. I'm not too sure if that will change in the future. But just realize that this device, you will need an iPhone 5 or later, or a phone that has Android Lollipop and above. Now, the difference between that is you need $200 for the phone. You need $200 for this watch, and you need a pretty phone itself. Let me turn this off and on because it has a cool display. As you can see, you can just turn that on, and it'll tell you, night mode's off. You have 100% battery power for this watch, and the memory is free. The Embrace is connected, and it is okay. So no issues there, none at all. But this phone right here will range you, the price will be variable depending on what kind of phone you have. In our case, we have the old Galaxy Note 2 that won't explode, haha. But the Galaxy Note 2 that we just had sticking around, I installed the application, and I won't go into too much detail because you could find a demonstration on the links below on how to install and run Open Seizure Detector. It'll pick up. I have it installed here. It'll automatically boot the application. The benefits to this one is the price will cost depending on how much of this watch is. You could, like I said, this device right here might run you cheaper depending on what you have available. If you only have one phone and it's the latest phone with the Lollipop or above, then your best bet might be the Embrace. The features are a lot better, but this one is open source. It is much more self-managed. You will be able to do much more with this device than you would with this device. For comparison, this is all the information you get. You really don't know if the information is going through. You know the device is here, but there's no data end for us nerds to actually look at. In this case, you can see the device moving around. You'll see the data processing here, propagating here, as well as the threshold being propagated across there eventually. see here, it will show exactly what is moving, how much of a load it is getting forced upon on the accelerometers, so you can actually see the data. Plus, this is a server in itself, so in our demonstration in the previous video, you can actually log in to this IP address locally with another device like a tablet or a computer or another cell phone, and you would actually see this data going across. In terms of alert, this one relies solely on movement. Depending on how accurate the movement is, that will determine the false positives to the false negatives to how accurate this device will be. So you have to tweak it yourself in some respects. A lot of it is a bunch of self-maintaining. This one right here claims to be a much more advanced. It does claim to go off when an unusual event occurs. We don't know what that means actually, but since it does have these little sensors in the back, it does track more than just motion, which should benefit you in the long run. In fact, this is pretty cool because if it goes off, my wife's at work right now, if it goes off, my wife's gonna get a call, so she'll definitely call me to make sure that I'm awake during the unusual event that occurs. This one right here, when it goes off, it makes that loud beeping sound. If I move it just enough for a certain amount of seconds, because I did try tweaking it. As you can see here, the spectrum ratio is not above here. That's the alarm that it makes. As you can see here, once you shake it enough, the alarm will definitely go off, and it's loud enough to where it does wake us up. Now in this case, we have this whole phone set up in my son's room, and we have a camera to where it has audio on our phone. So we do hear this play through our phone. You can also log into the app, and the app on the computer will definitely go off. It'll make a little beeping sound, but you can definitely monitor it that way. So this has the benefit to actually see the data going across to so you could kind of determine if you really did have a seizure. In this case, it'll just give you a call. Now, in the long run, I think the Embrace does have its benefits over this open source seizure detector by a long shot, simply because it uses more than just accelerometers and actuators to determine a seizure. This one also has that built in, as well as the sensors in the back, and you have the benefit of having their servers contact your caregivers that you placed in the application. So I am pleased, but I'm pleased with kind of some reserves, only because we haven't tested with my son having a seizure yet, so we don't know exactly how accurate it will be. We haven't tested it to the point where it will give us false positives or false negatives. Right now we only got a false positive. That means that the seizure that it picked up wasn't a seizure. A false negative is bad. You definitely don't want any false negatives in any of these systems. That means that the subject or the child or your son and daughter had a seizure, but these devices didn't pick it up at all. This one has not given us a false negative. It's always given us a false positive. And false positive is always better than false negative, right? You want to wake up for your son or daughter, regardless if she had a seizure or not. You just want the device to go off to notify you that. Although the false positives are kind of annoying, this one made us doubt that it was working because it didn't give us any false positives. We had to leave it on our son for 30 minutes while he was awake in order to determine if he was having a seizure or not, or if it actually picked up anything. Fortunately, it did call us, and you're going to get a nice little server, kind of like a computer voice telling you that your son or daughter, and it'll give it by name. You need to check up on them because you might be having a seizure. And in that case, if it is a seizure, then in this alert, you will leave it in the recent alerts, or if it was a false negative, if it was a false positive, you just hit the event here, select false positive, or it was a false alarm, and it will put it up to here. As you can see here, the date and time that it was will be given right here. So, what is best for you? It depends. I would highly recommend, if you can, try to go with the Embrace, simply because it does have more features, it does call your cell phone, and it does contact anybody on this list, which would kind of be beneficial if you go in the long run of, let's say, having your son or daughter carry a cell phone with them. This will actually be good, especially for high-functioning children that have to live with seizures. This will probably be your best bet. It doesn't have GPS, but you know what? You probably don't need GPS for this device. If the phone's on the daughter, or your son or daughter, you don't really need GPS on this watch. Why? Well, because this thing has GPS. If you have something like Cerberus, which I highly recommend, you could track your son or daughter into Cerberus and giving an actual location on the map. So you'll be able to track your son or daughter in the location where he or she might be having a seizure. So there's a real plus to that. This one's more for children. I only use it when for my child at home and at night. I don't see any use for having this on my son, even because he's not high functioning. He is non-cognitive. So we don't see him actually benefiting on either devices for taking it with them. But this does have its added benefits. You can monitor to see how much of a movement he's making. This one is a cheaper value because you can use an older phone and you can use this one. But it does come with quid pro quos, correct? It is open source, so not all devices will function correctly. We had an issue where a couple of months, there was a bug that was but a bug was accidentally placed into the source code, which caused the Open Seizure Detector to kind of lose connectivity quite often with the Pebble. You would hear when it lost connectivity, and it became kind of a nuisance. Fortunately, the designer was able to fix out the bug, and it is pretty much reliable now. We haven't had a disconnect like before. But all in all, this Embrace was very, very beneficial, and the reason why I like this Embrace over any of the other devices is that once you buy it, you're done. You don't have to pay for a monthly subscription like all those other devices, those other watch devices, where they charge you a monthly fee. I find that kind of unfair and trying to take advantage of us parents that have special needs children, simply because a lot of those monthly subscriptions I feel are unnecessary. Like one subscription service charged $30 a month just for having the same features that this thing has. Not only do they charge $30 a month, they charge an extra $10 just to turn on the GPS, which I found kind of ridiculous, since the GPS is just a flip of a switch, and it doesn't even need managing. All it does is it picks up the GPS from the satellites. So this device does have the benefit of having a GPS as a secondary through the phone itself or through the device of the tablet itself, and if it happens to happen in the future. I am very pleased with this purchase. It does have its pros and cons, just like this device. We have no idea if the device is working. There's no, if this device turns off, there's just a red X. It doesn't really tell us anything. This one, when this device disconnects to this phone, this thing will go crazy. It will start beeping and beeping and beeping to reconnect. This one doesn't do that. It just shows us a red X. So that might, of course, this is much more stable, so there wasn't any disconnects that we found at all. So I can't really tell you if the device isn't connected. Will alert the parents through the night. So there is some kind of risk on that. But of course, test it a couple of days. This thing you'll find out is really stable compared to this one. So I hope this was helpful to you. And in the long run, we give it your final thoughts. So that was the tutorial as well as the quick review on Embrace, powered by Empatica. As you can see here, this device is pretty much kind of a staple as of right now. I do like it a lot. I am going to test it in the future with my son. We'll work on trying to have it an additional phone. If we could see if we could get an additional phone for my son and have it just on him 24/7, just so it can notify us as well as the caregivers that it's currently taking care of Ethan. So when he does have a seizure, they'll get a call and they get assist my son as soon as possible, as well as notify us, so we could call them and say, hey, my son might be having a seizure at the moment. I am very pleased, but I'm also kind of reserved pleased, simply because we don't know the data that's going across. I can't tell you that yes, it is picking up all kinds of movements. I can't tell you that it is reaching a certain threshold or even detect heartbeats. It is all enclosed in a black box, and it just goes in one end and out the other to notify me. So it will take a couple of months, probably it will take a couple of weeks, probably a couple of months to actually determine if this device is as accurate as it claims to be. It does have sensors in the back, which we are pretty much excited for, and it gave us a call. I received a call at night, and I didn't know what it was. I answered it, and it was an automated message with my son's name. So it is pretty much beneficial. We do like it, and I hope this is something that you guys could look into, my fellow KetoPals, because the first things first, we do want to prevent our child from suffering from SIDS, which is sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. It is quite common, and it is quite scary. We tried looking in the past, and we were using the Open Seizure Detector as a means of a temporary fix for an issue that we had with our son in epilepsy. Now that we have the Embrace, I think we could retire these Open Seizure Detector. The reason why is because they had these phones, these devices before. Like I said in the intro, or like I said in the review, that we never went with those devices because we kind of felt that those devices took advantage of special need parents by having a unnecessary monthly fee. It's not necessary for them to add a monthly fee, especially a monthly fee where it increases just to add an additional byte of data, which would be the GPS. This one is a one-time cost of $200, and I think it would be a good investment. If you guys can, or if you guys have any trouble, try doing a GoFundMe account and contact your friends and relatives. See if you guys could get it, because I think this will save a lot of lives. I would highly recommend it. So let's hope it does beneficial to you if you have seizures, or if your child has seizures. This might be an actual good device. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.